I think we can go ahead, Robbie. Why not?
Okay, so just to sort of make sure what the roles are, I'm here as a sort of like master of ceremonies. I have no idea why particularly, because, but I know a bit about mindset maps. I'm involved in the business in some ways, but it's really down to Mickey and Robert. So what we've got planned for tonight is that for the first 30 minutes or so, there'll be a sort of discussion, explanation, Q&A, etc., about what mindset maps are. And then after about 30 minutes, Mickey is going to do a demonstration of mindset maps with someone so you can kind of see what it is. So that's effectively, is that a fair summary?
I think that's a great summary.
But before we begin, I think what would be useful is just to have a sense of you as an audience. You know, mindset maps are, I don't know, I call it a sort of profiling based technology where you would use it perhaps for your own business, perhaps as a consultant or a coach, perhaps for your own insight as a leader, perhaps as a business owner or in human resources. So we just have, or self-employed. If you in the chat or put your hands up, which of these groups, let me try and find out how many of you are going to use it, and you can either put up your hand or do a, whatever the word is, response. Let's start off with, say, how many of you would use it for coaching with clients? A show of hands, how many of you are kind of would use it in that kind of context? Great. And what about consultants? How many of you would go in doing a consultancy project and so on? And yes, we've got a few consultants here, which is always good. How many business owners are there who would use it just in their own business, for their staff, for their clients, whatever? A few of those, great. And what about like human resources or kind of internal consultants, something like that, more use it within an organization? And anyone I missed out, add in the chat. I would use it with my kids. I'd use it with my pets, which you could, maybe not the pets. I don't make that bit up. But
yeah, the hands are still up. So
hands still up.
Okay. Did I miss anyone out? Which seems like a good point. Seems a reasonable group. Okay, so that gives Robert and Mickey and me an idea about, you know, how to sort of focus the chat. So my job, as I said, as master of ceremonies, is just to sort of give you firstly a little introduction. So I've been working with Robert for over 20 years now, which has been a very kind of gratifying experience. And I very much like his material. I've known Mickey for probably over 10, 12 years. And I really like the idea of it. When I first went into this field, I used to be an entrepreneur, and I went into the kind of coaching NLP field about 23, 24 years ago. I found all sorts of human resources. I was pitching human resources. And I was saying to them, you know, hi, and tell me about yourself. And they often describe themselves as an ENTJ or an INTP. And I had no idea what this meant. So I thought I'd better find out quickly. So it's Myers-Briggs type indicator, you know. So there was an element of confusion. I didn't know what this was about, but it was identity level, as you would say, Robert. You know, and somebody also insulted me recently. They came up to me when I was in a bit of a bad mood and said, "You're red." I was like, oh, okay. So that's obviously the kind of an insult from extended disc or something like that, or disc. But it's a bit concretized. The thing I like about mindset maps, I've done the profiling myself, is the idea is that in different phases of organization, there are different requirements. So it could be that you may want to scale a business, or you might want the business to be more solid and robust. There's also some important things around innovation and resilience. Also, is there personal satisfaction? And the people, you know, if you have a happy workforce, I remember this running my own business, if they have personal satisfaction, you achieve a lot more and meaningful contribution. I even remember KPMG allowing all their staff to go off for 6 months and help people as a real kind of buy-in to attract so on. So it's that wider thing. The thing I love about mindsets in my introduction is rather than say you are a certain type of person, it's sort of saying what sort of person do you need to become for the situation you face, in, you know, which is contextual. It's not sort of general. So that would be my sort of introduction to it. And that's really enough from me. So over to Robert and Mickey, and tell us more about mindset maps. And then we'll take some questions.
Yeah. First, thank you, Robbie, and hello. It's just great to see everybody. So we like to use the metaphor that mindset maps is like a GPS for the mind. So, like you were saying, Robbie, you have an outcome, you have a goal, and let's say that goal is, I want to be more satisfied in what I'm doing, or I want to be more innovative, or I want to become profitable. Well, to achieve those things, you've got to put on certain filters. And so the mindset map says, okay, given that this is where you want to go, here's the pathway there. Here are the kind of filters you want to use. So it's a great way to be able to identify the way of thinking that is necessary in order to reach these particular goals.
And it's really kind of a new thing, because as you say, Robbie, there was, for example, personality profiles in the market, and personality profiles tend to be a little bit like a box. I have figured out that I am ENTJ, and now what? And with mindset maps, it kind of originates from our own work and our own career. I mean, I used to work in large organizations and manage large teams. And whenever I wanted to achieve a certain type of outcome with my clients, I would always bump into this question of, okay, we told the people what to do. We also told them how to do it, but they're still not doing it. What's happening? Well, it's a mindset thing. It's a set of beliefs that we should influence. And then when I became a trainer and a coach, I was working with beliefs and influencing mindsets, but it was always very hard to show to the client, what exactly are we working on? Where is the diagnosis? How can we show that there's some work that needs to be done? Is that just my opinion, or can we show it? And so that's where this idea came from, that maybe we can show it. Here is your mindset now, and here is your goal, let's say up here, and here's the ideal mindset for that. So we wanted to create a tool that is able to diagnose and also show how we progress as a trainer and a coach.
Yeah, and by the way, just as a quick comment, I did see somebody asked in the chat if this is being recorded and can be watched later. And so, yes, we are recording. Yeah, the thing I wanted to add is that that mindset is not just any particular thing. It's not just belief. In fact, we've identified 3 different levels of mindset that are actually different combinations of things. And we say that there's a meta level of mindset, which is our big picture clarity. And that has to do with things like our sense of passion, our vision, our sense of our mission, our ambition. But then we have what we call macro mindset. And that's related to what we would say are habits of success. And these have to do with things like being a persister, a balancer, keeping balance, a scanner, scanning for opportunities, somebody who's a seeker, seeking feedback. So these are the different kind of and the level of mindset. And then finally, we have what we call a micro mindset, which is like a spotlight on particular things. That has to do with in terms of creating a successful business, that has to do with being a self-motivator, being a market maker, being a product creator, being a team maker, being what we call a finance sorcerer. So mindset is not just a kind of a thing. It is what we're doing is we can be very precise about it. Plus, and we have 49 different tools as part of the mindset map inventory that can be used to help people pinpoint particular area of their mindset that they need to bring into focus or to improve. So it really is a very powerful development tool.
So, I mean, what I'd like to do is just so everyone's clear, Mindset Maps is a kind of an online product that you would guide a client through. Mickey will demonstrate it later. There are various levels of it, but the course starts 15th to 17th of September. And I think Mickey's going to show a slide about that in a moment. So here it is. So that gives you an idea. So if you're thinking, I'm interested in this, or I might be, what's the first step? Is to write 15th to 17th of September on a piece of paper and then work out later, how do I buy this thing? And then there are obviously other kind of modules which are coming. Maybe Mickey, you're best to talk us through this.
Yeah, so just to take a look at the big picture, the program is one program. So if you want to become certified as a Mindset Maps coach, and I say coach, but I also mean, you could be an HR person, or you could be a consultant, or you could be a business owner. But the idea is that if you are certified, then you have access to use this tool with others, not just yourself. And so the full program consists of these 6 modules. And in the 6 modules, you basically learn to use it on yourself. You learn to understand the digital tool, which Robbie just mentioned. So it's a web app, and you learn, how do you send invitations to your clients? How do you store their profiles? How do you create team reports? Because we have individual and also team reports. And so that's the 6 full module program. But we do have something which we call a foundations program, which is module 1 to 3. And so that is basically going to enable you to understand the course. Understand the concept, the tool, and use it for yourself. And so the first 3 modules, the first module is completely online. And then module 2 and module 3 are happening on September 15th, 16th, and 17th. And if you already know that you want to use the tool with others, you can register for the whole program. And modules 4, 5, 6 are happening in October, November, and December. And in module 4, we are basically going to work with the tools, the 49 tools that Robert just mentioned. We'll have a certification module where you kind of show that you have mastered the process, because as you can see, there's a 6-step mindset map coaching process, which we are looking at in module 3. And then in module 6, we look at the team approach, because oftentimes what happens is you want to work with a team, you want to work with a leadership team, or you have your own team and you want to take them to the next level. And it's a really kind of interesting way of looking at, okay, so what is happening on a mindset level for our team? So those are really the 6 modules.
They are all online modules.
Yeah. So that was a question in the chat from Sandra. So yes, they are all online. Great. So that's so look, what I'd like to do, because we've got about 15 more minutes before Mickey's going to do his demo. So you can model me. I'm going to ask Robert a question. I'm not quite sure what it is yet. And then you can start asking him questions and Mickey. So here's my question is, okay, so from my perspective, I work as a coach, often with clients. What benefit would this mindset map thing do for me, and how would I be able to use it with my clients?
Well, first of all, yeah, thank you. It's a great question, Robbie. And first of all, like what Mickey was saying, one of the really lovely things about it is that what it helps you to do is to show your client their own mindset. It's kind of like I was saying, it being like a GPS. You can say, okay, you have this goal, and here's the ideal mindset for that goal. Here's what your mindset is, and maybe to make a metaphor with my hands. Maybe it's like, okay, I've got these 2 need to be improved to match that somehow. So it really gives you a very specific place to work. We like to use the metaphor, Robbie, of this idea of knowing where to tap. There's an old story about a guy who goes in and there's a broken motor, and the guy looks at it and suddenly taps in a certain place and the motor comes on. And then the people get the bill, and it's like, $100. And they say, well, you only just, tapped on this, send us, you need to send us an itemized list of what you did. And the guy says, the time to tap, is worth $10. Going where?
Sorry, Robert.
knowing where to tap is the 90. So it's like, that's the 90%. So Robbie, I think what this does is it really helps you. And I having used it now many times as a coach, it's so great because it's like, it shows you, here is the key place that you need to work in order to reach that goal. What would you say, Mickey?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned one of the most important pieces. The other piece there is, you need to differentiate yourself. And nowadays, there are thousands of coaches and millions of coaches around the globe. And a lot of people talk about mindset as a key thing, but nobody really has a specific tool to actually prove that, okay, first of all, I can measure it. Second of all, I can show you a path to change it. And thirdly, I can show you how you progress as you go through the coaching process. So those are key questions that clients ask from coaches. And so this can really do that all in one basket.
Thanks, Mickey, and thanks, Robert. That makes complete sense to me. And the only thing I can add is that I used to be a tap dancer myself, but then I fell into the sink. Sorry, I'll just try and lighten things up for a moment. More seriously, would anyone like to ask a question? So yeah, just ask, put up your hand or just speak.
And by the way, I see some questions already in the chat, and one is, availability. So the way we say this is that this is a course which is interactive. So apart from module 1, which is really truly online, every module is interactive work where there is some presentation, but then there is work in breakout sessions, and you do a lot of coaching, you do a lot of exercises. And one of the benefits, by the way, that people report is that they meet others and they make connections from around the world. And if you're not a coach, the other benefit that people are recording is that, I am actually developing my own business and I'm figuring out my plan. Maybe I'm stuck somewhere, and this course is really helping me to get unstuck. So you really want to be there. We say that, one module you can miss and you can make up. Everything is recorded. So we always provide the recordings, but you really want to be there. If you can't once, you can miss one of the modules, but we wouldn't recommend to miss. The September one is pretty crucial because those are longer ones. So they are not, most of the modules, so 4, 5, and 6, they are on Fridays and Saturdays, and they are 3 hours every day. But the September one, let me just check the time. So it's if we speak UK time, it's from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. So it's a bit more chunky. So we wouldn't suggest to miss that part.
Okay. So any other questions in the chat you want to answer, either of you? Will the course be run again next year?
Well, there's an interesting one here. Is the tool competitive with IA? I'm assuming that means AI, artificial intelligence. Well, it's a different kind of a thing because it's already, we're using our experience. I would call it more like an expert system. Certainly is going to be competitive because, the AI is not going to be able to have, this particular type of knowledge. It's not out there. So, to be able to differentiate the different levels of mindset, to be able to know which of these mindsets is most important for this particular goal, and in order to be able to then find which tool. And so I'm sure, I believe that AI is going to be very transformational, but I think what we're doing here is not quite in that area. So
also, yes, the course will be running. It's usually running once a year. And so you could take the first piece today, in September, and then do the rest of it the next year. It depends on your learning style. So some people really prefer to do it all in one. But the reason we opened the first 3 modules as sort of a foundations program is exactly that, so that if it doesn't fit you for some reason, you can do the rest the next year. There are ICF continued educational units that you can get at the end. So that was another question. And basically I can show it. So there's a question about the price of the course. So maybe you can
show the slide on that.
Yeah. And who is it certified by was another question.
Well, yeah. Why don't you?
Yeah. So here you can see this kind of like full summary where, it's 32 hours of training if you come for the whole certification. Plus, it's something that we haven't mentioned so far. Another benefit is that you get a lot of opportunity to do online learning as well. So we have demos and previous, presentations from both Robert and myself that you can watch online if you have the appetite for that. And the course is basically certified by Mindset Maps International, and you get a certification which is signed by Robert and myself, and you get the continued education units certified by ICF. And the full price, as you can see, so there's an early bird price which is $2,050 instead of the $2,150, which is the full price. That's for individuals. If you come as a business, it's $2,250. And early bird price is out there until July 30th. We do have, if you have a preference to pay in parts, then you pay a little bit more, but then you can pay in 2 or 4 installments. So if you're interested in that, you can just write to us and we'll be able to respond. I'm going to put an email address here where you can write if you want to.
So I wouldn't mind if maybe somebody could speak a question just to spice it up a bit. What do you think?
It's always nice to hear a voice. Anybody, you can mechanically raise your hand if you want. While we're waiting there, there is a question about reports and cost of the reports.
Yeah. So for cost of the reports, yeah, people usually say, okay, so this is the cost of the certification, but if I want to use the system on an ongoing basis, what does that look like? And so the way we work is there's a suggested retail price, which is basically the price of an inventory, which is $90. And there's a team report, which is $250. And that's what you charge your clients. And obviously you need to get the reports from us, and we want to give you a profit opportunity there and then. So we give you a wholesale price. And the way we designed a package, basically you pay $400, and that $400 gives you 15 credits, which effectively means that you get 1 report for $26.6. And then, the difference between the $90 and the 26 is your profit. And if you don't want to buy the $400 access, we created it because we wanted to give a really good deal to people. But if you don't want to buy that, you can go one by one, but then you pay $49. So you have less of a profit and you cannot use the team report. So the team report and the best wholesale price is kind of put into this $400 package. And by the way, your credits never expire. So if you get these 15 credits, you have them as long as you want to have access to them. But what we find is that you will use it, so you will quickly use it up. So, and that's good because that means that you're selling it to your clients, and it means profit to you and to everyone.
I see another couple of questions. One is there any a requirement to the certification, meaning to have some coaching degree or something with success factor modeling. And we don't really have a specific requirement. Obviously, it's, because we are teaching the Mindset Maps Coach Plus process. So you will, even if somebody is not a coach, they will learn a coaching process. So, so it is, again, it's something that there's no particular requirement for that. And somebody says, if you're already certified as earlier as a Mindset Maps coach, is there a discount? I would say so.
Yeah, so if you are already certified, I'm not sure why you would want to attend the course again. So that is the same certification that you have already experienced, unless you want to retake the course. Yeah. So we usually allow people to retake the course, and we have a special price for that, which I can share with you happily. There is also the question that this only in English. So this particular program we are discussing is an English language program. We do also have international partners, and we have them in Germany, in Italy, in Greece, in Japan, in France, in Mexico. And so they run their own programs. And it also means that the inventory is actually available in all those languages. So if you graduate and you are, a multi-language speaker and you have your customers from all over the place, you can use the German, the French, the English, the Japanese, the Greek, whatever version that you desire.
Great. Dermot, you've raised your hand, so it'll be nice to hear from somebody. So do join us, and I'll disappear again.
I'm just feeling a little bit unanchored in understanding this, and the question I have is, what's the link between success factor modeling and mindset?
That's a great question. Thank you for bringing it up. Okay. So there is obviously a connection. This in success factor modeling, in fact, it has several different models. There is the circle of success, which is for entrepreneurs. There's the conscious leadership model, and then there's the collective intelligence model. Now, we kind of, I don't know, we have even a slide where we show that the mindset map is sort of, it's something that supports these different models. So, Dermot, success factor modeling says you have certain outcomes, you have certain actions, and then you need to have the mindset that supports those actions and outcomes. And the mindset map is actually was developed to be able to, say these are the meta, macro, and micro levels of mindset that are necessary to build a very strong circle of success. We are planning, by the way, to come up with, we already have the pieces, but we're going to be putting out a leadership mindset map as well. So mindset map is something that you use to help create these different structures that the success factor modeling identifies. Thank you. Good question.
So one of the things we say is that if you come to the program, one of the things that you will walk away with is your own circle of success as it pertains to your life right now. So, you may be starting a business, maybe wanting to retire, maybe, working in an organization and wanting to get out of there and start your own business, or being in an organization and supporting teams or managing a team. And so we will go through your own personal circle of success and then help you to connect that to mindset map. So basically mindset aspects of the meta, macro, and micro mindset that Robert mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind just adding a a personal story here, that I went to success factor modeling in 2005, I think it was, a bit of a long time ago. And at that time I had a small business, and using success factor modeling, which is very much embedded in the mindset maps, I did go about building a larger team, grow a larger business, which I did eventually sell. So I did find actually the material very supportive. So if you do coach entrepreneurs or something like that, I think it can be really transformative in terms of growing, just from my perspective, a small business. So part of the reason I'm here today is that I did manage to retire from my business. Otherwise, I'd be rather busy. So thanks for mindset that enabled me to do that. So which I'm very grateful. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I see. Here's a question. What's the difference between mindset map and coaching state management meta states? Well, I cannot speak too specifically on the meta states, since I don't know exactly the meta states coaching. What I can say, coaching state management. So, states are one thing, and states can also relate to mindset. Certainly, oftentimes people's mindset shifts depending on their state. However, mindset is something separate from our state. One of the things you can learn, in fact, is how to hold the same mindset even when there's challenges that come up, etc. So, again, the mindset has to do with the specific clusters of let's call it filters. And so it's, and I think the other thing about it is that we're able to be much more precise and line up how these meta, macro, and micro mindsets really support us to achieve a particular goal. I don't know, Mickey, if you'd have anything to add to that.
Yeah. So, just from my own personal life story, I was pretty good at state management. I was a meditation practitioner for 15 years and, doing yoga every day. And I thought that, I've got it figured out. And then I decided at the age of 40 something that I will move to the United States and I will build a global business rather than a local business, which I have built successfully several times before in Central Eastern Europe. And then I figured out that I don't have it figured out because basically, all the state management didn't quite work when I had suddenly 10 times more stress, being in a place where nothing worked the same way I was used to before, and, trying to pitch to clients and also trying to raise 2 kids. And so basically mindsets, and that's where, mindset comes in. And like, what is your focus, Mickey? Is it, okay, so you're in a new place. Maybe right now you have to focus on financial robustness, or maybe, you need to create some innovation there because, it's an already crowded marketplace. And that mindset, so it becomes a crucial question, what are the elements of that mindset that I'm going to have to take for the next 2 years in order to make this work? And so I still continue with my state management practices and my NLP practices, but mindset becomes like a real crucial question. And that's where this comes in.
Yeah.
We illustrated some of these. I think it would be interesting to look at for those of you, you can get the book. Like we illustrated some examples of this type of mindset with Oprah Winfrey, and how it was possible that she started, was born into poverty and became the first female and African-American billionaire. And she's very clear that this was a function of her mindset. And we of course look at some other well-known people like Steve Jobs, and how does that mindset, which we distinguish from personality? Obviously somebody like Oprah Winfrey and Steve Jobs have completely different personalities, and yet we're able to share these common qualities of mindset.
Yeah, there's one more question in the chat.
Yes,
I just
yes.
thought maybe in terms of timing, I
Yeah.
don't, obviously there's a nice free flow here, but I thought maybe if you wanted to answer this question, how does mindset maps relate to generative coaching, which
Oh,
was from Steve? It seems a good question. And then maybe after that, Robert, maybe some closing comments, and then we can move on to the demo. Or I don't know how
Yeah.
yes,
that
sure.
works. I don't know if there's maybe one or two more questions for Robert. But how would you say the two are connected, generative coaching and mindset maps?
Yeah, well, so first of all, generative coaching is working with these three areas of you have an intention, you have a center, and you have resources, and which is great. And I think it's very complementary to what we're doing with mindset. Generative coaching it's more like life coaching, whereas mindset maps is very specifically about are working in to build a business. That's like entrepreneurial coaching, and so it's much more specific about the things that we're focusing on. Generative coaching works with a generative state, so that's where we're talking about when we were talking about state management. So state is, as we already said, is a little bit different than mindset. It's a bit more open-ended. And so mindset maps is giving a much more precise picture, and is giving you obviously these very specific tools. Whereas generative coaching, we use these prototypes, but the prototypes are not the same at the same kind of level of let's say definition or resolution as the mindset maps tools.
Right. So, I mean, yes, well, then buy it. And also, we have a nice quote from Mariana, who is, I'm guessing, I'm sure you would confirm this, Robert and Mickey, already qualified in mindset maps. Not a question, but a statement. This is a life-changing experience, this unique combination of innovation, science, the 49 tools that no other program has. The fact that there is an international family and supports this movement, a true and vibrant community, are precious beyond words. As Robbie said, save the date and thank yourselves for enrolling later. And then there's heart symbol, and get the book for holiday reading. So, well, unless you have any last questions.
And somebody said, what is the book?
The book, there it is. The Power of
I
Mindset.
didn't really mention the book, but yeah, there is a book that you can get. And if you go on Amazon and type it in, The Power of Mindset Change, it's available both on Kindle and paperback. And it basically gives you a first introduction to, how this was created, some neuroscience, some of the facts, that we are mentioning here. And it's a really good segue into the program. And yeah, I think the life-changing part is an important one, right? So there is really a great opportunity here.
We actually just did the 3-day intro to mindset maps in Japan last week, and we definitely got that feedback from many people that it was life-changing, and because it's not just something that you do to somebody else. Also we're learning and keep developing our mindset. So
yeah, it's very practical, very specific, and it gives you something, a proper takeaway. It's a brilliant product. It's sort of almost, if I can put it, 35 years of your work at least in organizations condensed into let's make it work. Let's make a difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up, Robbie. It's a little bit like sort of the arc of my whole career has led to this mindset maps, and I think in some ways it's a very simple and practical summary of sort of everything I've done. And
great. Well, look, shall we hand over what in England we say the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I don't know if that sounds a very British saying, but maybe Mickey, would you like to bake us a cake? And I think Robert and I might disappear and hand over to you. Not disappear literally, but figuratively in the virtual world. So big wave and round of applause for Robert. Thank you for all that. And over to you, unless there's any last words, Robert, I will unspotlight you.
Just know that thank you, Robbie, and I really it's a pleasure to have had this time with you all, and I think I'm looking forward to this demo with Mickey.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, so we did ask for some volunteers, and eventually, out of the hat with the names, we selected Coretta Hein. If I'm saying your name right, Coretta. Hey, good to see you. So maybe we can. Do you want to pin her, or do you want me to do that?
I can't see her, Mickey.
Okay, so I see her, so I'm gonna.
You spotlight her. Spotlight her. I think is the best one. Yeah.
Yeah, here she is.
Where's she gone?
Hey, you're on mute at the moment, so you're gonna have to.
I'm not seeing her.
She's already pinned.
I'm off mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Perfect. Yeah. So first of all, thank you for volunteering, and I really love what you do. I really resonate a lot with what you do. So maybe if you were just to say in 1 or 2 sentences for the people, what is it that you're like, what you sent me in your email, that you're about to do something, and what that is, just, maybe 1 or 2 sentences so that everyone gets a sense.
So it's just setting up my own business, coaching, mentoring, and consultancy. And it's focusing on transforming or helping Black women to transform, especially those who've experienced discrimination and racism. And they want to get into leadership positions, but that has impacted on their mindset, their belief system, etc. And so therefore they're kind of held back. So it's looking at that and how to support them, develop them, and get them to where they want to be.
Yeah, I think it's a much needed thing. And so, I'm grateful that you are who you are, and I would love to help you in any way I can. So I promise my best support. And just out of interest and curiosity, this is going to be a 20 minutes demo here. Like, what would you most like to get out of this? If there's something that's on your mind, what would help you the most?
I guess for me, it was like that conflict when I went through the survey. It was that conflict between wanting to build a business and wanting to kind of make that change and make things better for people. And that just kind of felt like a real conflict for me, in terms of I want to do the, change the world piece and help and support, but then there's that business element behind it. And I find that's a bit of a conflict for me.
Right. And you're not the first one who says that. In fact, in our model, we say that a business or a person has what we call the soul side and the ego side. And the soul has to do with, this mission, for example, helping, Black women to succeed. So it's a pure and beautiful mission. And then on the ego side is, okay, so I need to create a business out of this. And then it may sound like there is some kind of a conflict there. And in fact, we usually say that it's not at all true. So a good business or a good team, or, someone who is in balance has a strong both ego and soul. So ego, in our sense, it's more like, what is your ambition? What is it that you're trying to create in the world? So before we get into this, I just want to show both you, but everybody on the call, how the mindset maps might actually help in our case. So you have taken the inventory, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share in a moment this report, if that's all right.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, this is the format of the report for everybody. So it's a 19 pages report, which you will get, Coretta. And we will just focus on certain parts here. But, one interesting part that is kind of interesting is just to look at that spider chart here, which is showing your what we call the meta mindset, which is your big picture clarity. And it shows that, there's a high level of passion. There is clarity on a destination. You kind of know where you want to get to. There is some clarity also on direction, and there's a strong sense of mission and ambition. But there's this interesting question of, okay, role. So who do I need to be? What exactly do I want to achieve? And role actually relates to this thing that you mentioned, which is this idea of having, okay, I need to start a business, and how is that going to work? So you can really see that. So as a coach, it really brings the conversation to this point that you just mentioned. Then you could look at also the macro mindset, which is, basically, how do you keep going, right? Because you know where the direction is, you know where you want to go, but you need some habits that are going to keep you going. And it's interesting, again, we see three things that are strong, energy and focus, determination, being grounded and resourceful, but there are some opportunities for getting more feedback and scanning for opportunities. So I would sort of take that as if I'm preparing for a session with you, I would take them as interesting questions. I'm going to have to talk to you about this. What did you mean about that? So we're just going to jump in, but before we jump in, I want to show one last aspect of the mindset and the report. And this is this chart. And that's kind of really interesting. So these are these little, what we call micro mindsets, which are often also referred as hats. So this is your daily focus, priority, which oftentimes becomes for people a bit of an identity. So, they say, well, I'm a great self-motivator, but I'm not, like, if we look here, I'm not a finance sorcerer, because I don't enjoy it. I'm not good at it. I don't spend time doing it. So that would be kind of an interesting question. Okay, so how important being a finance sorcerer from the point of view of your goal is? And there are a couple of other ones, like the venture builder. So the venture builder is the person who creates processes that are repeatable. Again, here you say, well, I don't enjoy it. I'm not good at it, but I do it. And then there is one, the resourcer, which is basically this idea of identifying, I have this, you have that. Why don't I give you a little bit of this and you give me a little bit of that, and we are creating some kind of a win-win. So this report is going to point to something, and as I'm looking at it as a coach, I'm building a profile of you, and I see, well, there's quite a bit of self-motivation. There is a great sense of creating products. There is also, some sense of being a team maker. But interestingly, the market maker, which is having conversations with clients, is empty. And the finance sorcerer is empty. And the venture builder is kind of like, I'm doing it, but I'm just doing it because I have to. So if I put everything together, there's a pattern here, right? Which is coming out of all three. And at the beginning, we mentioned that the report also helps to kind of decide where to tap. So at the end of the report, we say, okay, so from the point of view of the goal, which is meaningful contribution, there are certain elements of your mindset that matter more than others. So the report is suggesting us, okay, we will have to check in on this. You see these little red circles. So that means that those were kind of lower rated, but they're important view of the goal. So feedback is one that is highlighted to check out. And also the team maker is one that is highlighted to check out. And then, on the last page, there are actually some tools that are recommended. So I as a coach can decide, how do I use this? And I can share the tools with you, or, we can do them together. That is, when you do mindset map coaching, you have all this information before the session. And so it kind of informs the session and what you do in the session. So I just wanted to kind of show it to everybody. And now let's do some work together. And the first step in any kind of work that we do, and that also relates to the idea of generative coaching, is that we should be in a good state. So I'm wondering if you have some kind of a way, Coretta, that you use to get into a good mental state, that if you want to get into one.
Probably just a few deep breaths and sit up straight.
Yeah. All right. So let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's just sit up straight and take a few deep breaths, and all of you can join us. It's always a good thing to do together. And then if you feel like you are here, we like to say, okay, I'm here and I see you.
Okay, so I'm here and I see you.
Great. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about the goal first. So you said your focus right now in your life is to create a genuine and meaningful contribution. So what does that mean? What does that focus mean to you?
Well, I suppose it's about making a difference, making that change for people, to help people transform their lives, to be the best version of themselves, and to achieve what they want to achieve without the stuff that holds them back.
And I understand that, although you're currently working in an organization, you have already done some coaching with clients, and you have been able to, so you have experienced yourself being able to make that shift, right?
Yeah.
Great. And now you are planning on actually making the change and getting out of your place. Is that where you are now?
So I've already left. So I spent 31 years in the public sector.
Right.
And as a part of my job, I used to coach and mentor people, and specifically ethnic minorities. And that's where the kind of, I suppose, the passion and the idea came from. So it's that thing about, so I've already left that and I've started on trying to set up the business. But I think there's that thing about your identity. And I think that's a big thing, a mindset shift for me, is the identity of who I was for 31 years and now who I am now in the terms of this business person.
Right. And so, one of the things that the report showed that, one thing in the macro mindset is to get honest and frequent feedback from others. And that was rated a little bit lower. So say a little bit about that. What does that mean?
I think it's just because it's probably not something, I do get feedback, but it's not something that I go for too much. And I'm not very good at taking feedback, if I'm honest.
Right. Okay. So it kind of feels, what's the reason for not taking feedback so well?
Well, I don't know. I'm working on it, but I think it's probably to do with seeing it as criticism.
Right.
And growing up and having been criticised quite a lot, you kind of, and even with the job I did, was very heavily criticised and stuff. So it's very easy to start to get defensive and then not to want to hear it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, what I would suggest that we do is maybe instead of just chatting and kind of going through these questions, I would actually invite you to, if that's comfortable for you, either close your eyes or just soften your eyes and connect to this intention that you have, that you want to make a difference for Black women, and especially those that have suffered and went through some kind of trauma, and that you want to help them to achieve great results in life and become the best version of themselves. So really kind of connect to that intention. And as you're connecting to the intention, maybe just breathing deeply with that intention a few times. And I'm just wondering, on a scale of 1 to 10, how connected do you feel right now to this intention?
I'd say 9 to 10.
Yeah, I could see there was a pretty strong connection. Great. And then maybe like as a second pillar of your attention. So one is your intention. The second is your center. So my invitation is just to find your physical center as you're sitting here, in this kind of virtual field, and just sensing where your center, your best self is right now in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious, the strength of that connection on a scale of 1 to 10.
What with my center?
Yeah.
Probably not so. Maybe about 6 or 7.
6 or 7. So we usually say that in order for something, powerful to happen, we usually like to at least be a 7 or a little bit more. Just breathe and find that center. I sometimes find that if I put my palm on my center, that kind of gives me a connection, like I'm in touch with myself. But whatever works best for you, just to increase that connection a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then, just sense that I am truly here to guide and help. And, I am with you in this moment, but there are probably many other mentors in your life that could be helpful and will be helpful for you to make that shift that you're about to make. So I would just invite you to maybe bring one of them into the room with you and sense their presence. And you don't have to share much about them, just have them here.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you're ready, then, kind of take a step and, figuratively into this future. And maybe when is it? You decide. But it's a time when you are living fully this passion, and you have created this business, and it's a purpose-driven business, and you're making a difference in the world. So really kind of step into that and feel that. And maybe if there are any images that come with it, you could share feelings or images or sounds. What comes up?
Kind of people and me seeing them happy and then feeling that happiness and warmth and fulfillment for having helped them to achieve where they want to be.
Right.
There's money in there.
Right. There's some money in there.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
doesn't feel bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't feel bad because it feels like it's value.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. So maybe really kind of like sensing that, like I'm here and I make a difference for pay, and that's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Right. Yeah. So if you were to kind of figuratively turn in this place where you are right now, which is a place where, your soul and ego are connected. In fact, I'm just wondering, what is the reputation or the position that you have achieved in your field in this place?
But when I get there, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think it would be the kind of go-to person in that field, trusted.
Yeah.
And sort of valued in that kind of space.
would you actually have a team? How does it feel?
Hopefully, yeah, I
Yeah.
will. I'll get to the stage where I've got a team of people working for me.
So, this shows me that you are not quite in the future yet. So you're like, if I will be there, then what is my position? And okay, and hopefully I will have a team. So what we want to do is whenever you are ready, just, breathing, connecting to that center, connecting to that purpose, and really maybe taking one more step into that place when you are the go-to person, where people do seek you out, and where you are seeing all these clients that are happy with your services, and also, kind of have a team supporting you and with you. And I'm wondering if from this place you were to give, like you would look back in this virtual room somewhere on July 6th with Mickey and 78 other people, and you see your younger self sitting there, what sort of advice would you give to yourself?
Just do it. Keep doing what you're doing, but maybe do more of it.
Yeah,
Be a bit quicker.
that's right. So be a bit quicker, but just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and have that faith and confidence in, because even though it's a new identity, it isn't really, because you're still the same person. It's just a different space that you're taking up now.
Exactly.
You're the same person with the same skills, etc.
And if you were to give a name to this identity that you are now in this future place, who are you?
I know rock comes to mind.
Yeah, great.
Just was like a rock, like solid.
That's right.
Yeah, a rock.
I'm curious, as a rock, what do you say about scanning for opportunities, going to clients and talking to prospective clients? What does the rock say about that?
The rock says go out there and do it, rather than, I guess that's the bit with the rock, stays still. So rather than waiting for people to come to you, got to go out there, reach out there, because otherwise how do people know about you?
Okay, so if we were to incorporate this quality of being able to go out there, but also, some of the qualities of the rock, I'm curious if there is any other idea that you have. So you are kind of like a rock, but also one that can actually go to these people. So what are you then?
I don't know.
Yeah, so what we do when we don't know, and that's fine, is what I would like to suggest is think of, some kind of a gesture, or if that, like, physical gesture. I am like this, or I am like that. So let your body tell you who you are rather than to think about it.
Open.
Yeah.
Yeah, open, embracing, approachable.
That's right. Yeah. So those are kind of resources that you have. So I would invite you to kind of take them, take that openness, take that kindness, approachability with you, and come back into the room. And maybe just take a few breaths and integrate, this experience.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell me your, like, one takeaway as you're reading through this.
I think probably that I'm not tapping into all my resources. I think And so that thing about seeing myself as an immovable object, the rock actually isn't really right. But that's how I feel at the moment, I think. But that's not what I am generally, and that's what I need to be, which is more open, embracing, etc.
There you go. I think it's a remarkable insight. And by the way, we say in Mindset Maps that your excellence, so you are a rock, right? Like you're rock solid and you have a lot of strength, but your excellence sometimes can stand in the way and it can also limit you. So combining the rock, I think, with those kinds of resources that you mentioned, the openness and the approachability, can be the winning formula. And, you know, obviously what we do in the course is we go through many iterations like this. So you kind of work on yourself as you go through the course and kind of build that pathway that because we can sense that, you know, this is going to be some kind of a trail or a pathway that you walk through. So you kind of do that on yourself and then also with other clients. So I hope that it brought you something useful and valuable. And thank you for being a volunteer.
Definitely. Thank you.
And I think we should give Coretta a big round of applause, and Mickey. Great. So we've got limited time now, so I don't know, maybe I don't know what, do you want to finish at 8 sharp or do you want to drag on a bit, Mickey? What's your...
Yeah, I'm just looking at, you know, some of the things in the chat, but yeah, what I would say is I hope that we were able to show you, you know, how Mindset Maps is actually first a tool, and it's an online tool that you can use. How it's also a coaching approach and process where, you know, there are certain steps, and that's one of the things that we learn in the course. And how, you know, it helps you to diagnose and know where to tap, and then also gives you some tools. So some of the tools that were on that last page, which we obviously don't have time to look at now, but those are specific tools to help Coretta, for example, to get more feedback and to deal with that little obstacle that she mentioned about, you know, receiving feedback. So in that program, that's what we're learning and using, and you kind of work on yourself, but you also work with others. So you get to coach your peers, and that's how you build your relationships. And sometimes, you know, people end up doing a business together coming out of this course, and sometimes they take the business to the next level, whichever way it's defined, like Robbie mentioned.
Thank you, Mickey. So I don't know. I mean, for me, I suppose what I would suggest you do is maybe if you want to just maybe wrap up now, and if we could stay on a few more minutes if there are any kind of last questions. But if people do need to go promptly in a couple of minutes, at least, you know, you've kind of top and tailed it or whatever. You've said what you've said, and then you've said it again or whatever. So, Mickey, over to you to conclude, and then maybe stay on for a few more minutes after that, if people have extra time to just do some questions.
Yeah, so I want to say that definitely we'll send you an email with the recording and also links to sign up to the course. I'm trying to put it into the chat here, but it's not letting me easily at the moment. Hold on, everyone in the meeting. So this is the link where, you know, you can find all the dates and find the way to sign up. If you have any questions, you know, feel free to respond to office@mindsetmaps.com. That's where the email is going to come from. And, you know, we really hope to see you there. And thanks for being here. If you have any more questions, you know, we might just take a few more minutes, as Robbie said.
You could read them from the chat, Mickey, or if anyone wants to raise a hand. Yes, David Robinson, sorry, Dave. I know you very well, so I'm going to add a spotlight to you, David, and go ahead and don't forget to unmute.
No, it's just say what a great session that was, and really enjoyed it. And I certainly felt that karate had a bit of a shift there. Really impressive stuff. So thank you very much, Mickey.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Great. And we got Sarah. Thanks for that. David?
Hi there. I was just really interested. I'd love to know how we can do a report ourselves, just to see, because I think for me that's the best way of learning and seeing how useful it could be for my clients.
Right. Right. Yeah. So the way it works is, if you're interested in doing your own report, you can do that through a coach. That's our business model at the moment. So you could email me in response to the follow-up email, and then I could connect you with somebody who is already certified and can help you to experience the tool yourself. If you come to the training, by the way, good question, Sarah. When you come to the training, you get basically 6 credits. 2 of those you use for yourself. The rest of them use it with clients, friendly clients, and you also get 6 credits to create a team report. So throughout the course, you thoroughly experience it yourself with others and with teams as well.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Sandra?
Yes, Sandra there. I think you're still muted, Sandra.
Hello, that's it. I want to ask you if is any possibility of measure the progress or the change in a client by making the mindset or using the mindset tools in different times and different periods or something like that.
Yeah, really good
My
question.
English is.
Yeah, don't worry. It's a good question. So one of the big, Robbie started with the personality profiles here at the beginning, and basically you do MBTI once and DISC once, and then you get to hear the judgment. You're red and you stay red. Okay. But in mindset maps, it's very different. And the idea is that you can take the mindset maps more than once. In fact, we suggest that in the coaching process, you start with it, you kind of measure halfway, and you kind of measure at the end. So you can really use it to show the client that, hey, what we are doing is actually shifting something, and you can see it here. So that's really the idea.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. Does anyone have?
I don't see anyone else. I mean, there's quite a few comments in the chat, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I should spotlight myself, I suppose, if I'm speaking. Yeah, I thought that was fascinating, Mickey, and it's also just that sort of great kind of lovely insight into. I always say a quote from Robert, a master. Well, that sounds slightly male. It doesn't have to be a female master, of course. Or non-binary one, master of any sort, a master plays to their weaknesses. So once you discover, this is what I don't like doing it, but I need to do a bit more marketing. Well, there you are. What are you doing this morning? Marketing, rather than the other stuff you want to do. So yeah, it's amazing. Thank you very much. So unless we have any other comments, I'd like a big round of applause for Mickey and for Robert, who's to shoot off. And thank you very much. Do sign up. Don't forget, 15th to 17th of September is the online course. And then before then, you do a kind of recorded course so that when you arrive on that module 2, you've already done the pre-recorded module 1. So obviously don't leave it till the 14th of September. Maybe try and do it a little earlier would be my tip. But I think the last word goes to you, Mickey, and I'm going to disappear.
Yeah, thank you, Robbie. And I just wanted to mention that, we do have that early bird discount. So this is until the 30th of July. So do take advantage of it. And I hope to see many of you in September. Thank you for being here.
Bless you.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
For your
Thank
support.
you, Robert. Bless you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.